Guys, and welcome back to Dice Down Gaming. This week we are going to take a look at Warmanchester. This is a 62 player event, and I think it was 64, so 62 players, pretty good going, nearly sold out. I think they had a couple of drops closer to the time, so you end up on 62. Up in Manchester at Element Games, which is a really sort of famous store in the UK. It's a big store.
Yep.
We're going to take a look at sort of the faction spread. Then we're going to take a look at the top three lists, how they got there. So we'll look at their games and what they played on the route there, and then we'll take a look at their actual lists. How has everyone that has been kind enough to tune into us? How has your week been? Have you done any hobby or played in War Machine? And the most important question of every week: how are you, Dan? And how's your week been?
Yeah, week's been good. Been doing a little just bits and bobs around the house and all that sort of stuff. Managed to play a game against Steve on Thursday. I finally managed to beat him. You know, the apprentice had to get beaten down at some stage with scenario victory. But no, it was really good to play again, and it was good to also give him a game where I was purposely not letting myself get anywhere near assassinated. So really holding back with my Warcaster. And then obviously going really hard on scenario, and that's how I managed to win on scenario. So that was great. How about you, Aaron? You managed to play much this week?
Yeah, so two things actually. I think there's a really interesting discussion, which we're probably going to do on a whole show, about the point in War Machine where you have said to your opponents, "I no longer want to be helped or coached. I want to try and now play the game standing by myself." And I think that is a big precipice to take in War Machine. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so I start again at the start of every game. I'm saying to Steve, how much do you want me to coach at you, or how much do you want me to talk about it? And I'm doing that every turn as well, saying, right, how much do you want me to say? His turn two, his turn one. I went first. I moved up, rushed everything up, and then he just spoke about his plan, really clear, really concise. Okay, right, this is what I'm going to do. I said, Steve, you've gone one thing, and he went, I haven't asked you about threat ranges. And I was like, that's what you want to ask, because if you do your current plan, you're giving me your whole army on a plate, and I'm going to remove as much of it as I can. So that was really good. Talk through that, but I think, like you say, eventually you have to sort of take the training off, or say, actually, do you know what, I want to give it a go, and I just need to learn from my mistakes, or to see what cool stuff you can do. And it was good for him to see it as well, but also talking through scenario, and even if you're going to lose, actually think how you can maximize points. I know we're going to talk about tiebreakers later, especially with going to a steamroller, and how you can really go, right, actually you might be losing, but let's try and get that VP, let's try and get that extra unit destroyed so I can make sure I get those extra points. So that's what we're doing at the moment. But yeah, definitely, I think we'll try, like we said, we'll try and get Steve on if we can. Talk about it as a new player experience, and any top tips for
Yeah, I
people.
think I think that would be really really interesting. So in terms of myself, I did get to play a game this week in Chelmsford Bunker, and I got to play. I played so locally. People. I tend to try and play a game a week, and I think locally we have about 6 or 7 regular players. So I think at this point we play everyone quite regularly to a degree, and people. I've had success locally. Fortunately, I've not won a local tournament, no, it's worth saying. But I've had success locally with sort of Brian Bloods and lots of Marauder crew, and to try and keep things, fresh, and people keep wanting people to play me. I tried a list about any Marauder crew, so it was only War Beasts, and I tried the Aberration, the new 80mm super heavy with Shadow Tongue, and I went on scenario. So that was a lot of fun. I got to play Paul, who had not played in ages. So that was good, and it was actually quite fun because I'd say with the Marauder Crew heavy list, you tend to, your decision points are which unit are you going to cast Fury Strength on, and that's about it. Where with Shadow Tongue, with the option of Gallows and Petition, Black Spot, Ghost Walk, and Hex Blast, you can sort of play each turn as it comes rather than having sort of a pre-described, I'm going to buff my Marauder Crew and activate them sort of turn. So it was a lot of fun.
Yep.
We'll take a look at Warmanchester. Me and you weren't there this year. Initially,
Knowledge.
initially I think a few people did express interest. So I did initially buy a ticket, and then as sort of life happens, people dropped away. And for us down in the south, it's quite expensive for us to go up to Manchester between travel and hotel and food. So I decided not to go because I prefer to travel in a group, and we all agreed to go to Welsh Masters as a group. I think next year the event was such a success, and I was quite jealous that I wasn't there. I'm definitely going to go, and I think it's a different weekend for you, Dan. So I think you can make it next year as well.
Yeah, I think making the choice of celebrating my wife's birthday rather than going to play War Machine was probably the right call. I think that's, if I want that to continue to have to be my wife, I think that's probably something I should keep on going for in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. But unfortunately, with the change of date, I think you can definitely make it next year, and so can I. So as long as sort of nothing happens in the unforeseeable, we'll make it. So that would be really cool. And I know Jamie was looking to actually expand maybe the numbers for next year. So it might be I can't imagine what you jump through from 64, maybe 90, 96 would be another 32 players. So I imagine that adds another round. But fortunately, they ended up with one person at 6-0, which is great. So they did have a clear winner. So first of all, we're going to take a look at the faction split. So before sort of we click at it, was there any sort of preconceived things you had that you thought you might see, Dan, or that you might not see?
I definitely thought that we'd see a lot of Signar, Shadowflame Shard, and Orgoth. I know that we think Kador are probably in the worst position as a Mark IV faction. I didn't expect any old Umbre because of how fresh they are, and also unlike the Welsh, where I think because there are people personally going, Joe, I'm going to paint up this old Umbre and I want to win best in faction paint and all that sort of it. I don't believe that Warmanchester was a painted event, so I don't think people would be rushing to try and get their models done and also getting them out on the table at a competitive sort of event. I'd expect to see similar numbers to Brian Blood's, Cricks and Dusk, just because of sort of where they are. But I was thinking I'd see a lot more, or a lot of Shadowflame Shard in particular. I'd expect a lot of Wyverns in most lists. But the thing that I was really looking out for, and I've also been looking out for at Nova, is I was wondering whether the aberration was going to be as prevalent as Big Pig was in the last year's WTC. So that's something I was looking out for when sort of preparing, when hearing about the event and wanting to see what sort of lists come out in preparation for Welsh.
Yeah, totally fair. I think I'm similar. I think when you look at sort of the win rate for Mark IV, the only one that is sort of I say, so there's Kador, Winter Corps, which are definitely lowest by about 4 or 5%. I think House Callus is the next one at 49%. So they're the lowest, and obviously you've got some which are highest, like Necrofectorium and I think Necrofectorium and Sea Raiders are highest, but Kaifos and Horus prop up that faction. So there are players that don't want to play either of them and aren't playing at that higher win rate. So I think that sort of skews their win rate a little bit. So I sort of expected. I agree. I didn't expect much Old Umbre because they haven't got. People will just have. Well, actually, in the UK, the core box with Maximoff, which gives you the not the bears. It gives you the hunters. I think. Yeah, it gives you the hunters, and it gives you some other stuff. I give you the starved character heavy, but you're missing out on the bears, which are I think probably the best unit in the faction. And you're missing out on Resnikova, who could be the best warlock in the faction. You're missing out on the Ursine champion, who gives sort of tactician and loads of good buffs. So and secondly, I don't think actually in the UK they're not released until the 4th of September. So I don't think people would have had the core box to hand. So if you're just playing with the battle group box and the command box, you've only got war beasts and basically no fury management. So they don't really play as a functional army at the moment. So I wasn't expecting them to see any old Umbre. I probably expected to see 1 or 2 players that just thought, fuck it, I'll just play them. But I wasn't expecting any sort of serious contenders, I would say, to bring them. Then in terms of armies, I was expecting a few Gravediggers. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to sort of speak to a lot of people playing War Machine. I knew there was a few names that I was looking out for, so like Leo Robinson, for example, and Chris Clare. I knew they were both running Gravediggers, and they both really prepped their armies as well. So they were like gravediggers that knew what was going on.
Yep.
So, and then I think in terms of sort of numbers, I wasn't really expecting much for spread between the rest. I think
Right.
Cricks and Sea Raiders are they're only higher because of those two Warlocks. So
Yep.
Warcasters. I think it was just a case of like who turns up with what essentially. I think currently in the meta, I think maybe Winter Corps are the only army that sort of maybe are physically lower power, not physically, but they are lower power. But I'd say anything from House Callus to say Sea Raiders, I would say if you have two equally skilled players, any of those armies playing each other is probably determined by player action and
Yeah.
their decisions in the game rather than the difference in power. I suppose you could argue that if someone's like an excellent player running Horus or an excellent player running Kaiphos might slightly have an edge because they are the highest win rate casters in the game.
Yep.
But I wasn't expecting a big skill either way. So I think maybe Storm Legion is one of them armies which is popular because it's like iconic War Machine, right? It's classic Signar. They look like
Yep.
War Machine.
Yep.
But let's have a look. Let's click and see what we get. So pretty decent spread. So currently the game has 9 factions, and there's all 9 Mark IV factions were represented. We also have a bunch of Mark III factions, which 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 Mark III factions represented. It's quite cool. Dark Operations fall into that, and they sort of they're the newest Mark III faction. We've got one Infernals, one Crucible Guard, one Grimkin, and then a bunch of old Mark III army lists. So it's pretty cool. I was surprised maybe not to see more Infernals, but that might be an availability thing like we spoke about.
I was surprised to only see one. I thought that people, because of how Warmanchester has sort of been in the calendar for several years now as well, I was expecting that those people that are sort of entrenched in the game that do have Infernals would be going there with them, and also with preparation for Welsh, it's perfect with it almost 3 weeks before. Yes, that surprised me. I don't know how much you've looked at the list. Did you expect more or less Colossals or things
So
like
I
that?
haven't really had time to go through all of
That's
the
fine.
list, but if you have, what have you found?
Like I said earlier, I was looking for aberration, and while it is in lots of lists, it's not as prevalent as I thought it would be.
Mm.
There seems to be some factions that are bringing, or most factions apart from Signar really seem to be bringing a colossal in one of the pairs.
Yeah.
I think all the Dusk list I looked through had one with a phantasm in the list.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I expect.
Yeah, I think it's quite common these days to have a colossal in one of your pairings. So that doesn't surprise me too much. And I suppose Phantasm's probably got part of the new hotness about it, right? If you've just got it, you probably want to play it in some lists. Yeah, that's fair enough. So in terms of sort of faction spread, we've got 2 old Umbre, so I think that sort of follows what we expected. A couple of players that just said, I'm going to play them anyway. House Callus is the next at only 4, which is surprising, but not so much, I suppose, because Callus and Winter Corps are the two lowest win rates, so not surprising. Then we sort of got, I'd say, between 5, 6, and 7, we've got Brian Bloods, Cricks, and some Sea Raiders, Necrotorium, and Brian Bloods. So I suppose that's lower than I thought maybe would expect Necrotorium, because, and Sea Raiders, because their win rates are quite high. But I suppose when you think about it, if you don't want to play Kaiphos or Sea Raiders or Horus, but you want to be competitive, they're not the faction for you. So I suppose they're limited in who wants to play them, right? Oh, I'm sorry, I can't. There you go.
think the limitations also possibly because of if you're trying to get particularly Necro Factorium, if you're trying to get Mechanothrals a Mechanothrals form together, you might still be waiting for some other bits. If players are, there might be some people that are going to switch factions if I'd expect most of the attendance of Warmanchester to attend the Welsh later, and I would expect a couple of faction swaps, maybe just for prepping and things like that. But
Yeah, I agreed.
I was surprised with the low number of dust. And I was also surprised because obviously I'm a dust player, looking through and seeing the dust list themselves. But Brian Blood's. You were right before when we did our tier list. I don't think anyone took Firequill, and I'm fearing him more than any other Brian Blood. What do you think?
In terms of Brian Bloods and Firequill, I think it's one of them things that I do think as you get into a higher level of play where maybe assassinations don't come, they're harder and harder to get, right? So maybe he does power decreases when you're playing an excellent player because the assassination's a lot harder to land. I do think there's also an element of, I know in pre-January update, he had Energizer and people were a big fan of that because that extended his threat quite well. And then when they lost that, people also weren't a fan of that as well. And then also, I think there's a bit of Ekin Shamer. Hey, Chris, Claire, thanks for tuning in, mate. Well done on your 40. Solid performance. There's also an element of, that the current stigma around Firequill that he's not competitive. So I think if you didn't want to invest into trying Firequill, you might just accept that, he isn't competitive and not look at him. So I think there's that three things. I think people probably aren't wrong that at the very highest level of play, and as assassinations become harder to get, his effectiveness does probably taper off. I think that's probably fair. I still think that he offers something different in the sense that the king can really shoot off heavies very, very easily. And having that option in list pairing is quite nice. And it's very different to dropping, the four Marauder Crew and Locker Bash. So when you've got that as one of your lists, and then you've got a really heavy cohort shooting list, that can make your opponent list decision quite hard. But I think it's one of them things. I'm a massive fan, and some people don't agree. Similarly, you don't like Helif, and some people love her, right? So I think it's a bit of a case of that as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
About seeing some of the names. So I've seen a couple of names that I haven't seen for a while. People that I can remember sort of playing and being just names, remembering being paired against them in previous events in a distant time. So yeah, it'd be interesting to when you go through the list as well. And following how people did, it was interesting to see how prevalent Orgoth was for day 2.
Yeah, and then the last faction we've got 8 Storm Legion. So that doesn't surprise me. I think they're one of the factions that are easier to paint. They're iconic War Machine. They're in the 2-player starter set, and they're also still at a decent power level. So all the things you need to have a popular faction. Next up, Shadow Flame Shard with 8 as well. I think Dragon Snakes, like Legion, Dragon, War Beast are always a popular archetype. So it doesn't surprise me. Paired with, they have a really good power level, right?
Yeah.
And then this is probably the most surprising for me is throughout the whole thing is that the Gravediggers were the most popular faction.
I don't see. I don't know if you can see it. Can you see faction breakdown? How many wins each faction got?
Advanced statistics. I might be able to do that.
Because
yeah, I do. So I can do that with advanced statistics. So this is actually quite interesting. I should have done this for you before, so we can do it live. So Gravediggers, that's interesting. So it shows the armies by win rate up to the bottom. So it's very interesting, actually.
I can't see your screen, by the way.
Yeah. So there's one Mark III faction that lost 5 games and got 0 wins. So we'll ignore that. There's Merchant. So Winter Corps. Oh, go ahead. There's one Mark III army list that got no wins.
I'm going to guess Retribution of Syra.
No, it was Soldiers of Fortune, which is one of the 8 Merc army lists. Chris said he was also surprised that the Gravediggers being most popular. Yeah, that really catches me off guard. So the bottom win rate, which is like Mark IV win rate, is Winter Corps at 25% win rate for the event. So that's pretty brutal. Next up, House Callus. They're next bottom.
Yeah.
They're at 30% win rate for the whole event.
Okay.
So, then we have a few of the Mark III factions. The Infernal guy went 2-4, 33%. So Old Umbre went 42. The guys that played it. So nearly 50-50. Then we're sort of up to, I'd say, normal stuff. Necrofictorium. They were nearly 50% for the event.
That's good.
So the Gravediggers, they had a 54% win rate. It's pretty decent.
Okay.
Especially as they were the most abundant army, so they had the most opportunity to go down.
Yeah.
And Chris says the Soldier of Fortune guy was his first games back to Mark IV. So fair play to you for going to play 5 games. Because it was a really competitive. You can actually see like the average rating of a player in the statistics. And, out of the 62 people, I think 40 of them were rated 500 and above. So it was a really competitive environment to play the game. So fair play to that. Brian Blood's got 56, Storm Legion 58, Sea Raiders 60, Shadow Flame 60. As a Crucible guy went 4 and 2 and got 67. So power to the Crucible guard guy. And then Grimkin also, one player played Grimkin, which is Jan from London. Shout out to you, Jan. And he went 67%. He went 4-2 as well. So I mean, look at the Mark IV. You got Shadow Flame, Sea Raiders, and Storm Legion. They're at 60, 60, and 58. And I think and Gravediggers, those 4 armies sort of, and Brian Bloods, they cover the top 8. So they're the highest win rate armies. Doesn't surprise me. I'm surprised to see House Callis at 30%. That feels lower than I thought it would be.
They need a hero, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it make you realise that you win the events means that we must all be really shit. Okay, that's a really interesting statistic there. But it's good to see. I'd say that apart from Old Umbre, which I think you can discount, they're not a full army yet. The rest of the Mark IV armies were about 50%. But Winter Corps, I think universally people accept are suffering, and I think House Callis feel like they deserve better than the 30 that they got.
Yeah, cats need 2-inch melee again, and
get them Tyrus double cats. Kelvin Jones is in the chat. Do you know Kelvin?
That name sounds familiar.
South African guy, and he used to play Guild Ball, I'm sure. He's a legend. Kelvin, thanks for joining us. With the resurgence in the game, I am not surprised to see Gravediggers as most popular. They, along with Cricks, were the latest factions and therefore guaranteed stock availability. Fair point. Fair point. Cricks was never a major popular faction in our day. No. I mean, me and Kelvin go back, man. Hope you're well, Kelvin. That's interesting. So I think that's healthy, really. Most ones at 50%. House Callis and Winter Corps do better next time. And then there's also a graph here against win rate against army choice. And interestingly, Horus. So this is really cool because it actually picks out, specifically for this event, picks out leader models that had above their win rate for the event, right? So Sea Raiders are at 60%, but Horus for this event had 19 games and a 75% win rate, or 74. Sorry. So that's an impressive stat for that leader. Interestingly, this is another good one. Ragemonger. He's only played 8 games out of the Brian Blood players, and I think there was 5 of them or 6 of them. Yeah, he was an 88% win rate. Really interesting stat. Kaiphos, 5 games, 80% win rate. And then there's one here, which is Kane in a Mark II army played 2 games and won 99% of his games. Don't know how you win 99% of your games and play 2 games. At 1% of the second game, he didn't win. So that's interesting. So Kaiphos and Horus both pop up again, and Ragemonger putting in a shift as well. So that's really interesting to see. Chris saw a lot of Orgoth and Gravedigger mirrors. Yeah, I think David played 2 or 3 mirrors on his way to the top. So he went full Braveheart and was like, there can be only one Orgoth player, and it's him. Okay, that's really interesting to look at. So I think what we'll summarise that: the Shadow Flame Shard, Sea Raiders, Storm Legion, well above 55% win rate for the event, and performed really well. Right, now I need to go back to where I was. That is the army breakdown. And I think the main surprise for me, out of some looking at the win rates, is the amount of Gravedigger players, because I wasn't expecting that many. The low win rate of House Callis, that surprised me.
Yeah.
And I suppose unsurprising but good to note is that Horus and Kaiphos still very much carrying their faction where they can.
Yeah.
Anything
Just
else you want to add there?
yeah, defenses are in a ton of lists. I know we've spoken about it previously. Most pairs have one list of defenses. I'm trying to go through. Then some people that haven't taken defenses, interestingly, there's not many of them that have taken Sapper. That what I've seen so far. Yeah, it's that's something that I wasn't necessarily expecting.
I think it's fair to say like blessing the gods is in every list. No one leaves home without blessing.
Yeah, I think for everything I've looked at so far, I think that's right.
Yeah. Okay, so let's look at like the actual results. So 62 players. We've only got time, unfortunately, to go through. We're going to go through the top 3.
Yeah.
Everyone there, fair play to you to go. So from the last place, Thomas, it's a foreign name and I don't want to mispronounce it. So Thomas Fella, he went 0-6 with House Callis, all the way up to David S, who we've had on the show, who went 6-0 with Sea Raiders. Well done to everyone that was there. I hope you had a lovely weekend. I was really jealous looking at all the photos. We're excited to be there next year. So well done to everyone just for attending. I hope you had a good time. We're going to focus on sort of top 3 lists. We'll do a shout out for everyone doing 5-1 because that's an incredible result. I was explaining to Lucy, funny enough. She was like, "So how do these tournaments work?" Because it was interesting. And I was like, "It's round robin. So you play one game, and if you win your game one, you play someone who's won one game." And she was like, "Oh wow!" So when you get to the final, I was like, "Oh, my friend David's in the final." She was like, "When you get to the final, you're playing someone that's won all 5 games." And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "Wow, that must be a really tough thing to do. You've got to play over 2 days. You're probably a bit tired. You're playing someone else who's won 5 games. To win 5 games in a row is pretty tough." And I was like, "Yeah." So I think, to get to to get to 5-1 is another incredible result. Winning 5 games and losing 1, I think everyone will be happy with that. It was an 80% win rate over a weekend. So shout out to all the 5-1s. Good friend Dean, he was in 7th with Shadow Flame. Jacob of Team England, Team England as well, was in 5-1 with his Brian Bloods. Matt, Team England, was in 5-1 with his Storm Legion. Olav Winroth, a European visitor from, I think, Sweden. 5-1 with Storm Gravediggers. And then Leo of Team England. So you're third. Congrats, Leo, with your Gravediggers. Dan, not Team England, I don't think, but a regular talker in the Discord. Second,
board Brum events, I believe.
Yes, he runs all the boarding Brum stuff. Shadow Flame Shard, and then massive congratulations to David S. Immigrants taking our trophies with 6-0 with I'd like to say Orgoth, but we're going to say Horus. Because it's Horus. So nice spread in the top 8. We've got Necrofactorium, Shadow Flame Shard, Brian Bloods, Storm Legion, Gravediggers, and Sea Raiders. So top 8 is 6 separate factions, which is lovely. Chris said, really well run event, bigger next year. Yeah, I saw Jamie said that he might get it to like 96 players, whatever. That'd be fantastic. Me and Dan will certainly be there, and hopefully maybe, I think this weekend it coincided with Nova. So Sherwin or Matt or Loxham couldn't be there. But maybe if it's the weekend before, some of the Steve Boys Games guys could be there as well. That'd be great. So let's take a look at Leo's list. Leo is running the Gravediggers. What I want to do quickly is, before we go through the list, see what he played in what games. So Leo, on his road to 5-1, played Necrofactorium, Shadow Flame Shard, which was his loss to Dan, who went 5-1 as well. Matt Gallagher, Steam Legion, he played Grimkin, played Old Umbre, and he played Brian Blood. So he played a split of 6 different factions.
Played Boom Boom McCoy in every round, apart from we don't know what he put in round 1, and that's something I was mentioned earlier off the live stream, was that not everyone put in their casters for every round. But looking here, he's played Boom Boom McCoy.
I think there's a good chance that the other game was also Boom Boom McCoy, because Leo's currently on that Boom Boom hype. So it was probably Boom Boom. So we're going to assume. Chris says Leo. I think he was meant to say running, but he's wrote rubbing. So Leo was rubbing McCoy all weekend. So he was really enjoying McCoy. So we'll take a look through his list, but we'll focus on the McCoy list. We'll start with the list that isn't McCoy, and then we will deep dive McCoy. So the list that wasn't McCoy was Hasker. So Hasker is a feat that places the mines down, and on a 4+, you're knocked down when you get within a certain range of a mine. He's got Deuce, so really good shooting unit. 2 Valiants with the Piston Hammer and Harpoon Fist, so sheep, melee Valiants, Boom Howler, Baron, which I think is the Tactician model, the Super Heavy Magnus, Gravedigger Commandos, and some Gravedigger Gun Mages, Stormvane Rowdies, and Commander Officer. So nice mixed force list. Couple of few cohort, few with the Magnus 4 cohort, couple of support solos, couple of units. It's a nice list on paper. We're not going to worry about that because it wasn't on the table. We're going to take a look at Captain Connor Boom McCoy. So card wise, we've got Blessing, defenses, duck and cover, 2 light airdrops, which I think Gravediggers will take every time because the medical crate, the fuel crate, the ammo crate are all really, really good. Lucky Penny, which makes sense because Boom's a bit of an offensive warcaster. Military Engineering, which I believe is the super sapper for Gravediggers, and Old Faithful for repairing one of the cohort models. Then we have Plugger, which I think pretty default take. Plugger is very, very good. 2 Valiants, 1 Volley Shield, one sort of cheaper melee loadout, and one a bit more expensive with the Volley Shield. Support solos, commandos, gun mages, 2 rangers, sniper, Black 13th, and rowdies. 2 really, really great character units. So have you played against Boom yet, Dan?
No, I haven't. I think when we had that talk with Chris, though, it was all about getting that massive alpha, wasn't it?
I think so. What the list? I didn't realize how dark my room is. Oh my god. So what the list does very well is it presents an awful lot of threats that go very far under dash and the feet. So the rangers can all CRA. The sniper's got grievous wounds. Obviously 13th from rowdies. 13th are really accurate if they pray whatever they're praying. Rat 9. Rowdies can re-roll some of their ranged rolls. You've got the tech of the cloud, the commandos, and the rowdies. You've got really far effect ranges, and Boom McCoy with sort of fire for effect does a great deal as well. So I think it's a list that has pretty much every tool you could want in a list. And like we said with Gravediggers, the ceiling is extremely high. But once you sort of reach that ceiling and you're able to utilize your tools in the right places, in the right time, under time, in the clock environment, I think you've really got a really, really excellent list. And I think that's what we're seeing here with Leo taking the 5-1. His only loss was to Dan, who only lost to the finalist. So, he only lost to a very extremely competent player. And I think it's a really, really effective list that, like it shows, can be played into everything.
Yeah. So just looking, strength schedule was like the second best out of the whole event.
Yes. Good. One good to talk about and while we're here as well is that it's very apparent that once you look at the 5-1s, which is 7 5-1s, though I don't understand why Dean. Oh, no, ignore me. Sorry, he's a 5-1. The 5-1s are all decided by strength of schedule, so that's really interesting to see.
And again, I think it was last week about encouraging the people if you've just won a game, encourage the person that you've just played to play better in the coming rounds, because actually it can improve your strength schedule and your ranking in the final event.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what it does go to show also is that, okay, in this case, it didn't matter. But when you go to these big events, so say we go to Welsh Masters, we end up playing 7 rounds, the amount of people that will be 6-1, I think it's guaranteed. I think it's guaranteed 6 rounds. But say it was 7 rounds, the amount of people that will be 6-1 will be quite a lot, right? It might be 10 or 11 people. So it really reinforces to me that you actually should try and push for every VP per game. Because if you are tied with strength schedule, which they're probably likely that you might tied with 1 or 2 people, those VPs, say you get tied for second place, those VPs are going to decide for second or third or maybe fourth when you drop out of the. So I think it's worth trying to scrap for every VP you can get in every one of your games.
Yeah.
And good to know, I suppose, if you're going to assassinate someone, definitely try and, as we said, the turn's going to end. Try and get your things in place before you assassinate to get those VP. And I suppose it does throw up an interesting argument: is that is assassination a weaker way to win? If I assassinate someone top of 2, and I score, say bottom of 2, and I score 4 CP against winning on scenario turn 5 and scoring 15 CP, arguably that loss is worth a little bit less, right? In terms of secondary tiebreakers.
Yes, and I'm now going to look through. Okay, interesting. So David, eventual winner, had a couple of scenario wins, an assassination win, and 3 death clock wins.
Interesting.
Again, clock is a weapon. It's a way of winning the game. I'm now going to look quickly at that.
I think there's what we can look at is there's a screen we can find that breaks down
assassination.
Yeah, like who won by what. Have you found it?
No, I haven't found it.
Oh, okay. I found it before, but now I can't find it. Because there's a player ratings. I saw it was like who won by what. Advanced statistics. Maybe I've got it here. I've got it here. Great. So this breaks down what games were won by what. It's quite interesting. So we can look at, say, first player against second player. First player had a 4% higher win rate, so 8% disparity. So first player won 54% of the time. Second player won 46% of the time. So interesting. If you do decide to go first on average, you are more likely in hyper to win the game. And then in terms of breaking down assassination, scenario, death clock, and concession, it's quite a good mix. So scenario is 78 games, wins, and assassination 67 games. So over 145 games, there's only an 11 win difference. So that's quite similar win rate, really.
Yeah.
Death clock was 22, so not many, but still, that would be about 160 games. That's about 15% ish of the wins with death clock.
Yeah.
So absolutely worth playing on clock. Chris said that Horus list is an absolute grind either side. He got his money worth. Absolutely, he did. Yeah. He would have got his money worth. I think Horus is maybe I'll be taking a look at him in the January update potentially. Yeah. Right. So that's Leo's list. Well done, Leo. Running that boom, getting his money's worth, and congratulations on your third place in 5-1. Fantastic result. Next up, we got Dan. I've actually looked at Dan's list before because I was interested to see what he was running. Because I was expecting to see Kyrax and Cyrus. Yeah. But it's not what I saw.
No, it's not.
So he was running Rassic and Nixian. So Nixian's got Hydrix, which has got 2 sort of range attacks and a Spinebeck and a Diviner. Yep. The Vipex has got the Bladed Gal Animus, I believe, and he's got Hunter's Mark Animus, sorry. And they've got a Wyvern, the Belial to buff the Wyvern. The Conjurer is a great support piece. Pythia, who you can channel through and has guidance. 2 Spinners, the Paragon to protect you from shooting. Shades, which are fantastic. 2 Talon Lashers, which are the 3-inch guys with drag. The Cinderbacks, which provide some range support or put clouds, and the Shadow Munchers, which are the Fury support unit of the faction. So you've got the typical Wyvern with Belial, and then Nixian offers also Silence of Death. So you've got the ability to really crank up the Wyvern. You've got Hunter's Mark to let it threaten further, and you've got some great utility in Cinderback, Spinners, and Paragon. So I think even though it's not Cyrus or Kyrax, it was just a really, really strong list.
Yeah.
No defenses and 5 standard cards.
He got multiple assassinations. It's one of the middle rounds. And yeah, I'd love to see that final where they're both on the same scenario points. They're almost on the same army points. It just came down to clock. I'd love to know how much time was left on either of their clocks for that final.
Yeah, it's a shame it's not streamed. I
Yeah,
really, really hope Steam Force Games do stream World's Masters. I think it'll be a really, really good opportunity to get the game out there with fully painted armies and decent terrain and get some eyes on it that aren't exactly uh that aren't don't normally expose the War Machine. I really think that we should try and get World Masters streamed. I think it'd be really good.
yeah,
So I'll try and maybe poke Jamie or someone and say please stream it. Chris said Dan showing you don't have to follow the net list. Yeah, for sure. I thought
yeah,
I was going to see Cyrus with either a trike or a Weaven and the support and maybe a couple of units of Talon Lashes,
yeah,
and then Kyrax with a couple of heavies,
yeah,
double Talon Lashes, double Death Dealers, double Incarnate Knights, and a couple of Paragons. That's what I was expecting to see. So Dan really showing that if you can find a list or a warlock that you like and play it
yeah.
well and learn it well, that the relative balance is good.
The
Chris,
lack of pride really surprised me more than anything because I mean I've yet to actually face the Trichimerics, but from what everyone's been saying, something to be feared.
it's certainly hard to kill, but what I've found against a list with a trike is typically say they've got Trike and Skylar, which is their character Hydra, and then
Yeah,
you've got Belial, a Paragon, Shadowmancers, suddenly, and maybe you've got a unit of Talon Lashes as well.
yeah,
You've got a Vipex with the Hunter's Mark. That
yeah,
suddenly is pretty much a whole list. And what I have found is that if I ignore that trike and
yeah,
then kill, say, Skylar, they're not left with many functional models really. So they really struggle on scenario. So I think potentially while the trike is incredibly hard to kill, if you don't have to kill it, does that matter?
yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah,
If you pay for Riven for more with Mortal Fear and put Dragon Blood on your trike and you've got a Purgation Tail, awesome. It's so hard to kill. And say you take Belial as well and you take a Vipex or Hunter's Mark, that trike can pretty much do what it wants to a degree. Obviously it's got bulldoze and unstoppable, but if you can limit where it moves. So if you decide to just ignore the trike and kill the rest, I've found that the Shadowflame Star can struggle in scenario with that approach. So I
yeah,
think not taking a trike and taking a Weaven, and a Weaven fully buffed can functionally one round most models. So
yeah,
you're not really missing out on killing a key heavy where you need to. But having that extra unit like the Cinderbacks is a great example, which is another good tech piece that can affect the game from range, can score a scenario back on your board, hang out a flank and score a side scenario. Instead of a trike, that Weaving
yeah,
and the Cinderbacks, I'm a big fan of, and obviously
yeah,
Dan executed his game plan really well. So well done, Dan. Chris said there was 2 to 3 minutes between them in the final, so giga close.
yeah,
That would have been great to watch that. There wasn't much time on the final clocks. The Orgoth player had a bit more, so David had a bit more. Nice. So unfortunately, what he played isn't fully filled in. So he played 2 Rassic games, but I don't know what he played in the other games, unfortunately. So let's take a look at his second list, which is Rassic. I like Rassic because it's quite different to all the other Legion
yeah,
Warlocks. It plays a bit more of a tanky defensive game, whereas for the other ones they're all very, very aggressive, very proactive, but a bit more glass cannon. So Rassic have got defenses, which is really, really popular. We've got Achilles, the character from Shadows and Scum. A Drakion, which has got Grand Slam and follow up. Vipex, the Hunter's Mark. Pythia again for a good arc node. So we have got Riven here, which has got Mortal Fear, and also quite nice. You can jump and fresher. It's just 6 points. It's expensive, but it has got good tech. 2 spinners again. A Paragon. So, but I think a Paragon and Hunter's Mark is something that you always see in every Shadowflame Shard list, which is fair enough.
yeah,
Incarnate Knights, which are quite nice with Rassic. 2 Talon Lashes, which again are very, very common for all Shadowflame Shard lists.
yeah,
Cinderbacks and Shadowmancers. So there's quite a lot of crossover there. You've got Pythia, the Vipex, the 2 Spinners, the Paragon, the Talon Lashes, the Cinderbacks, and the Shadowmancers, which are across both lists. And then you've got the other ones to sort of come in and flavour the list. But I think it's great to see that it's not Cyrus and Kyrax, and it's great to see that Dan be like, I've got these 2 lists, I know them really well, I'm going to go play them, and obviously he's executed his play really well.
Yeah.
And I think having look at those lists, I think they would be tough to play. There's a lot of good tech in there, a lot of higher threat ranges, and when someone knows that really well, I can see why Dan has got to where he's got to. Now next up we've got David S. He ran 6 games. He ran 6 games of Horus, so no surprise. I've played against this list like 4 times now, maybe 3 times. It's very, very good. So he had an Ursus list, which is a Butcher list. He played it into Dean in the last Steamroller that we went, and he won that game into Shadow Flame. Dan used Rassic in game 2 versus me as well. So maybe Dan had a Rassic heavy week. I think it's interesting because I think, like we say, I think it's definitely proven now when I do like the monthly meta show and we take a look at events, that it's certainly the current situation is that you can build one list that you can play all weekend, right? Leo played Boom Boom all weekend. Dave played Horus all weekend, and maybe even Dan played Rassic all weekend. So with spell racks, letting you slot in and out answers to questions when you need them, I certainly think that we're in a place where people can play one list for 6 games now.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure. Which I don't think is ideal. I think it would be better to have differentiated warlocks that have to fit that answer different questions. Also realised I've been painting today. My hands are covered in paint. Oopsie. So Horus. So I could probably tell you a list about looking at it, but so we've got 2 jackals. They've got beat back on their weapons, and they've got arc nodes. They have Bloodthirst. One of them has Bloodthirst, so they charge a bit farther. One has an arc node, so you can put out Silence of Death where you need it, or Inviolable Resolve. Galgast with Infernus Cannons, 2 big fat claws and the head. So you've got Gorton Keeper, which is the shield guard 50mm fat boy. Ariva Commander, this guy has the Tactician, which is really, really, I think probably the best single brawl in the game. She's Tarask, which is can put out Mortal Fear. So stack with Horus with his feet for a -5 plus 5 armor swing against living models. Farion, a great solo who's got Hex Blast, which is you don't have to rack it. Really, really good. 2 Forge Masters. The Forge Masters might be I think these are Shield Guard to Warjacks. So the list can put out 3 Shield Guards, and a Shield Guard on a Galgast covers an awful lot of ground.
Or they can put out that you can't. They've got exorcism, so you can. They can. The Galgast can't be targeted by spells.
Yeah, really, which is also really crucial for like Hunter's Mark.
Yeah.
2 units of Nashers. So these guys are 2 attack seats, and they have Weapon Master. Really, really great. Old Court Axes. Old Court Barrages. Old Court Axes are like a multi-wound. They've got unyielding. They're quite hard to kill in melee. Barrages are they're ranged AoE units, and Warwick's Coven. So you've got a lot of units. It all gets the Horus feat for +3 armor. It can move through itself. You can put the Siege Tarash Mortal Fear up to make it pseudo +5. Galgast incredibly hard to 1 round. David's really excellent at positioning the Galgast. Outside of the feat turn, it's not actually that hard to kill in 1 round once the Siege Tarash is out of the way. But it's like Summonable Parts where you've got the Tarask, you've got the feat, then you've got to fight through the Axes and the Nashers and the Barrages to get to the Galgast. And I would say a shout out to David here is that he's probably the best player I've ever played. In terms of that, man, he just doesn't ever give you an inch, right? You play me, and 1 out of 5 games, I'll just forget to score an objective or walk into a threat range and be like, my bad. I've never seen David do anything near that. He's ultra precise. He's ultra consistent. He knows this list obviously very well because he plays it a lot, which is fantastic. Shout out to David. It's absolutely killer list, killer player. Congrats on your 6-0 at Warmanchester.
Efficient,
efficient German playing. That's what it is. He wastes no time. He gets the job done.
Done. Nice.
I think the event overall was a massive success. Everyone, the guys in the chat and the people I've seen posting in the UK Discord have only had praise for the event and said how good it was. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
I also saw really I think cool is that they had a prize table, but they also had a prize table for like partners. So you could take something home for your partner to sweeten them up that you've been playing War Machine all weekend.
That's a shout.
Really cool. They had a quiz Saturday night which involved War Machine and Guild Ball questions. So it promoted sort of like getting a Guild Ball buddy and doing the quiz with them.
Yeah,
that was really cool. I think there was like Friday sort of during the day and evening there were people playing practice games and getting together. Awesome. And I think looking at the average rating of players there, rating is like a Longshanks ELO sort of system. It was a really competitive event as well. So that's really, really cool. I think I'm jealous I wasn't there. We'll definitely try and go there next year. I mean, like, as long as I've not got to travel for work and we haven't got any health issues, etc., we'll definitely be there. Do you reckon you'll be running House Callus next year, or do you reckon Kithgard?
Kithgard are looking nice from those photos from Nova. But I mean, it depends how the old House Callus do this year, because it might be a case of thinking, let's if I lose all my games at the Welsh, I might think, what, stuff this, I'm going to play a new.
Interesting question to chat, and I'll ask you as well. So for your House Callus, what if you could make, say, 3 changes to them in the January update? What would be the changes that you make?
We're talking updates, or are we talking just pie in the sky? I can have all my Christmas presents come at once.
We're talking things that you could think could reasonably happen.
Slayers need to be reduced in points, and I think you get rid of critical decap, and instead you give them armor piercing. Slayers need a lot. They're not viable, and also Slayers with the last hunt coming out, the last hunt are just better. I can't see a place for them. Slayers I'd reduce in points, and I would change crit decap to armor piercing. Gives them a purpose in the army. I'd also potentially make Slayers mat 7. No, sorry, they're already mat 7. Mat 8, maybe, so you've got something in the army that can hit accurately. Because obviously I don't think everyone should have a mat buff, like a Carnage or something like that. But I think that would help. I would like to see the Soulless Rangers, I think they're called, or the pistol guys, the shooting soulless guys. So I've got my Soulless Blade Masters, which are the sword guys. They're great. I've got the Soulless Guardians. They're the halberdiers shield guarding. But the Soulless, I can't remember what they're called, pistol riflemen, whatever it might be. They're currently just not very good, and they've just not really got a purpose in the faction. So I'd give them a buff or make a change with that. And my third change would be...
So I put you on the spot here. We didn't pre-discuss it at all.
My third change would be, it's not against House Callus itself, but if we're meant to be the high defense faction with some of our pieces, the rest of the game, I think Carnage needs to go off. I think Carnage needs to go off spell racks, because it's just too much. Everything's too accurate. Or you make some of our things that are meant to be high defense 15 instead of 14. So that's Mage Hunter Assassins in particular, and Mage Hunter Rangers. You make the defense 15 just to mean actually they will likely dodge some attacks. That's the 3 things that I'd change.
Nice. Chris said Jack Kits still needs some love for House Callus. And Mazza also said Soulless Hunters could do with some love.
That's it. That's what I meant. Soulless Hunters. They're the name of the range.
Shooty boys.
Yeah, they're that bad. I don't even know their name properly. I think the Spectre is the best. It's amazing for 10 points defensively, but as soon again it's got high defense because the game hits harder. That goes pretty quickly. Gas are okay. They can be cheaper because of what they are. Eidolons, I'm still a big fan of Eidolon, but I don't know if that's Stockholm Syndrome because it's kind of the option.
I think Eidolons might be that they're the best choice you have, so they sort of shine. But maybe when you compare it to the other fair options, they lack a little bit.
And Israfil was too prevalent, so he needed a nerf in the January update. But because of that, he's now not as... You still can take him. He's still got drag, but losing going from 3 inches to 2 inches on melee. That was a real purpose. That was something he could really do to engage and cause problems. So maybe that goes back to 3 inches, but yeah.
Yeah, and I think I wonder if I wonder if there's much on the list to be brought down for the January update, or are they just going to take the approach of taking the things that are at the bottom up?
Yeah, I think it's tricky because I don't think they're badly designed at all. I think they're actually pretty well designed. It's just that in this economy, they I can see why they didn't do so well, but we'll hopefully see. Hopefully, I'll do a bit better when it comes to the Welsh.
So interesting. Let's look forward to the Welsh. Do you think so with the Welsh, people will have got their old Umbre core box then? So they will have Maxim, who's very, very good. You will have the Starved, and you will have the Earth Sign stuff, which is stuff that can shield guard shift on demand. So you can attack, shoot a model, and if you've got a marked model near it, you can shift and put a shield guard there on demand. It's very useful. You get the Liegeman Hunters. And what you don't get is the Bears. So you don't get the Urzens, which are, I think, pretty incredible for their 10 points. But you do get a good competitive Warlock, and you do get a very good character War Beast, and you do get the Liegeman Hunters. So I'm expecting more Old Umbre at
Yes.
Welsh Masters. It does have to be fully painted, and the next box isn't due to be dispatched until the 4th of September. So if it gets dispatched on the 4th and say it arrives the week after, as a number, you're going to have sort of 10 days to paint what you want to paint. So it's doable, really. If you want to smash it out, it's doable. So I think it's fair to say that we'll probably see more Old Umbre. Interesting to see if we still see some of those people that just take their Mark III armies for the fun of it, or as Welsh Masters probably see some more European travel, and it's a bigger event. Will you just see more of the top meta stuff and less of the people that have just turned up for fun? I think probably not. I think there'll probably still be some people that just turn up and with a Mark III army because they want to play the game.
My hot take will be there'll be more Winter Core. I think there'll be a lot more Winter Core than we're saying at
like percentage wise, right? So there was 2 out of 62. So,
but I just think that there's more people going to it. So, and Winter Core are a faction that lots of people might have painted because they're one of the older factions of Mark IV.
mm-hmm.
I think we'll see more Chimera.
Yeah.
I think we'll see after this more defences, even more.
Mazza Mert says he's there at Welsh Masters to play and lose every game. Mazza, you won't win and lose every game. You might play me, you'll get a win.
I also think more aberrations. I'm still
aberrations really, really interesting because I don't think any of the 80mm actually really excel in many places because there's not many people that can self-buff them. Say like Crix could put up, Calamity is a good example, or Mortality, whatever. But I often feel that there's things that are in the faction that you could buff that are better than the 20-point option of the 80mm super heavy. I think Nostilla really shines when you've got someone to revive. Really, it's the dream. So maybe Dreadguard Cavalry, maybe Stormlance Legionnaires. So maybe Cowder, you could plop into Cowder or put it into, any list that runs the Dreadguard Cavalry. The damage output outside of isn't massive really for the 20 points you make. And if he has to charge, you probably have to charge. And then if you're taking the +2 to melee damage, you probably want to boost to hit your Shadowbind spray, so you don't have to worry about hitting. So you actually, when you charge, you sort of get 5 melee attacks, which isn't bad. And they're like power 16 and then power 17 and power 19. But for a 20-point model, it's not a massive amount of output for actually the 20 points you get. So I'm sort of, when I first read the rules, all these initial attacks, I was a bit like, oh, it seems very good. I'm less sold on it now. But
easy models paint up and have 20 points of your army, sat on an objective, getting a cohort objective, and it's not going to be as easy to remove. if it's on your back, if it's sort of more defensively and it's just holding points.
Yeah, no, I do agree. Matt said currently painting a phantasm to take. Hopefully looks pretty and distracts people. Well, and it's a fantastic model, so it will look great. Yeah, Aberration's interesting. I thought there might be a few more. Seems limited use, but maybe in Welsh Masters you will see some more. I think that's probably the best selling point of the 20-point models is that if you're playing two fronts or whatever, you can plop them on one side of the table and then just be like, for that 20 points, I'm not have to worry about that side of the table, and they score it. Chris said, I mean, Nostilla is kind of like a 6 to 7 point solo. Yeah, Nostilla does do a lot. He can revive just friendly models, so you can do anything. There's some interesting interactions with Sucker and things like Marauder Crew with a bosun, so you can like trigger vengeance if someone shoots Nostilla, which is so you can catch people out. So yeah, I mean, you are right that for 20 points you are getting a good model, and Dark Seduction is also can be crutch when you drag a warrior, make a warrior model move in, and he also has got a spray. So yeah, you're right that you're not paying 20 points just for Aberration.
The fact that it was the model that if you pay for the subscription, that's it, you got it. That's where I think it's going to be available. It's going to be widespread, and it's sort of an easy model to sort of paint up, 3 colours minimum sort of thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. So I think probably at Welsh maybe you'll see a bit more Aberration. I think probably you'll see more European people at Welsh as well.
Yes, yeah. I'm also interested. I've been trying to see pictures of the tables and what sort of terrain looks like. I've also looked at that at Nova to see sort of what's the breakdown of terrain and how many large buildings are sort of in the centre, how much line of sight blocking is there really in the middle, or is there layered walls and things like that. And scatter terrain, we've had a long conversation offline about scatter terrain, obviously how Colossals can destroy it. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, scatter terrain is a really interesting one. Obviously, a bit of context locally, we sort of, since we've bought Colossals, we have removed obstacles when a Colossal moves on it. Now as we understand, fully as per letter of the rules, that is not correct. They're not considered scatter terrain. They're an obstacle, and the scatter terrain is like 3 barrels that you put on the table and say, here's some terrain. But talking to some more people in sort of like the UK meta release, some people do remove walls when they move on, and they just consider them scatter terrain at the start of the game. So I think that's a really interesting one. It'd be good to hear in the chat. Do you guys consider an obstacle scatter terrain or no? And I think it's worth definitely having that conversation pre-game at a big tournament now. I think the default position is they're not scatter terrain. So if someone says, "Oh, I don't do that," that's their right to say that, and that is the rules as per written.
Yeah, I think
you go.
Having that conversation at the start of the game, saying before you even deploy, what is this terrain? Can we both agree with it now? I'm considering taking some more dry white tokens and just writing on it, so then I can be like, right, that is scatter. So then we've both got an understanding when we're at the table.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris says scatter terrain is rarely used at events. Bends some of the flag rules in weird ways, which is true, right? Because you can remove the scatter terrain with a Colossal or a battle engine or 80mm in some cases, and then that does make flags pretty interesting. So it's probably logical that largely scatter terrain isn't used. And I suppose for me and you, it's just a bit of an adjustment because we played it wrong essentially. So we just need to get used to that, which is good. But I do agree, it's worth having, even not just about Scatterlight. This is a forest, and with hazards, you have like storm clouds, you have dust devils. Fully clarifying that can make a massive difference. Because as far as I understand, like the WTC tables have like 2 to 3 hazards every table. So like acid bath, like fire pools, storm clouds, dust devils are all really common. Like dense fog, for example. But locally, because practically we use the terrain that we have, and then you've got hazards now, so you do have hazards. But when we started playing, for example, we just grabbed forest hills on obstacles, and use them. So hazards are something to really get used to, I think.
Yeah.
And it would be a good point to see like what the tables are like. It would be great to get some photos. And if anyone would send me photos of tables at the Welsh, that would be great. Sorry, at Warmanchester. That'd be really, really interesting. I'm looking forward to Welsh. I was sort of like really looking on with like green eyes at the Warmanchester not being there. So I'm really excited for the Welsh. We've got a group of me, you, Dave, so three of us like together, haven't we? Then we've got the Steamforce
Yep.
Games guys who we're fortunate enough to hang around with. But so
Yeah.
from Chelmsford, there's the three of us really.
Yeah.
That'll be great, and we're staying in the same hotel. We'll go out Friday night, and that'll be reminiscent, because in
Yeah.
2016 we were like 20 of us went to Welsh, didn't we? So that was really cool. Chris is very terrain heavy at WTC.
Yeah.
Chris, interested, is that sort of like 14 pieces every table? That's like the upper limit Steamroller recommends, so it'll be interesting to see. Remember, the event was Jamie's, not Steamforce Games. Different judges, different terrain packs. Yeah, that's fair.
I did see the sexiness that is Steve Margetson doing the player registration for War Machine in that lovely black and yellow striped top.
Great marketing.
I wished I was there just to see his beautiful face. So just a little shout out to him.
Love Steve. Great guy.
Okay.
Yeah. So Chris says that it wasn't Steamforce Games event; it was Jamie's event. So that's a good distinction to make. I really, really hope we can. I'm gonna actually just drop Jamie a DM and be like, "Please, can you stream Welsh Masters?" I think he's a really for the game. Actually, I think getting it out there to people that might not see it is really important.
I've watched Nova coverage from the Ice King, I believe it is.
Yeah.
So I watched some of his stuff, and it was just interesting to see War Machine, sort of high quality War Machine games played again. Back in the day, I used to watch a lot of the and I followed the Chain Attack podcast, and they used to do a lot of coverage at WTC and things like that. And it was great just to see the game being played. It's interesting to see, having seen other game systems streamed and high quality levels of stream, and then going back a bit to be like, oh, here's just our fixed camera and we're just going to let it play, and that's fine too, because actually let's just get people seeing what the game can look like. And 3D terrain as well, that was at Nova, superb. I understand that logistically that can't necessarily, it's much harder to get hold of, and it's obviously a lot more time consuming and costly, but game looks fantastic when it's fully painted and got a 3D terrain. So hopefully we'll see that at the Welsh.
Yeah, I had double whammy of jelly. I mean, at this point, me and Dan are probably just going to catch up for the next 20 minutes. So anyone staying, we're very grateful. What are you doing next weekend, or what's your current War Machine plans? But I had double whammy being jealous, really, because obviously we had Sherwin and Matt and Locks at Nova as well.
Yeah.
And they were supplying us loads of photos. So we had those guys playing there, and we had Warmanchester, and yeah, it was a good weekend for War Machine. And I think actually next year will be a great year for War Machine in general, right? You've got Warmanchester, you've got Welsh Masters, you've got the York Weekender, which has been run by Gav, I think, up in York.
Yeah.
Then also there's going to hopefully be Lock and Load Europe, which would be amazing. So
the solo Masters at the WTC.
There's the European stuff like the Belgian Masters and that, which is not hard to get to for us guys. So I think hopefully War Machine is on the up and up. We've got Kivgard, and then I suspect we've got the Orgoth second list, and hopefully the Dusk second list.
Yeah.
Which will be really, really cool. Kelvin says shows the game is coming back in a good way. Yeah, I super agree.
We saw there were some match play kits in the background of some prize support.
Yes, we did see them.
That's one of those things that were on the keynote. That was was it Gen Con or Adepticon?
I think it's Adepticon.
Adepticon, so you never know. We might get some more information on those things shortly. And so hopefully it can continue to grow. We can continue to enjoy War Machine and get the train back on.
It'd be good, man. I think even the UK War Machine and the general War Machine Discord have shown like a 2 or 3% growth in over months, month on month. So that's really promising. I think the key thing at the moment is just try and get it to get people eyes on it. I think luring people away from 40k and that is always very hard. It's worth trying, but getting new eyes on it is probably really key as well. So I think it's going to be a really good year for War Machine. I don't know what 2026 will hold. Probably by their own schedule, 4 new factions. If it's one every 3 months. So that's really exciting.
Yeah.
I think for Old Umbre, there is still there was a Lord of the Feast model, like when they did this, like there was a rules leak and Rules of the Feast was in it. That model has not been cited yet, but it's like an 80 millimeter. It's their 80 millimeter model, and like the old Wood Elves, Orion, King of the Woods.
Yeah.
It had like the dude with like a hunting wolf, two hunting wolves. It had that sort of vibe, right? It was a big guy with a big hunting wolf.
Well,
So
like on a wolf,
I
standing
think it
beside
was
a
like
wolf.
a hunting wolf that was like by his side. So that
In-
still like might come out, might not. Obviously they might have just not gone with it. So there's still
yeah.
like maybe one more to come for Old Umbre. And then we've got the
Yeah.
whole new wave of Kithguard, which look really
Yeah.
cool. And I'm still not sure if that model in that photo was a Warjack or not. I'm saying it's a troll in armor.
I'll be honest with you. If you look at the mask of it, it did remind me of a 40k orc, but we'll ignore that.
Fair. Do you reckon it's a Warjack?
I would love it to be a Karchev version in Trolls.
Oh, that would be interesting.
Madrak 4, baby.
Drag 4. He hasn't got arms, he's just got Ragnaroks. That'd be great. That'd be great.
If they release Madrak 4, I'm like, yeah, done. I'll sell everything else. That's it.
What was I was going to say? And also, sorry, Old Umbre are expected to get an Apotheosis caster. So they're expected to get a 50 millimeter caster as well. Which in the rules leak was a shapeshifter guy. And the feat was just like, you can shapeshift everything. So like, you can pay for like 10 shapeshifters, feet, and then spawn them all.
As long as it's not Kruger 5 or 6 or 7.
It's like more akin to like Chromac.
Okay.
Yeah, man, that would be cool. Chris says there is a WTC streaming GoFundMe live at the moment. Really good quality last year. Nice. I'll share that on my social mediums. And Kelvin says, got to be a Warjack. Okay, Kelvin, don't destroy my dreams like that. It could still be a troll in a suit. God damn it.
Madrak 4.
It's Madrak 4 with Ragnarok's arms.
Heard it here first.
Only as 2 initial melee attacks, and they're both Ragnarok. That's it. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, so I sort of lost my train of thought with the Ragnarok talk. Oh, Old Umbre have got the 50 millimeters come, and then we've got the next 4 armies.
Yeah.
Kithguard look like they're going to be... They're still not like their old trolls.
Yeah, but you've also forgotten something, because eventually Bacon's coming back. Because there was that one...
I'm so confused about that, because there was that thing like experimentation and Bacon, but as far as I understand, there's only Grimkin, Infernals, Crucible Guard, and Convergence coming back.
You're right. Coming back. What happens if there's a faction? What happens if
you reckon they're going to make a new Thornfall faction?
Dr. A is going to come out riding something else. I mean, we had conversations with Rid, and Rid's like, yeah, I'll buy my like 6 pig army.
You know that scene in South Park where they come in and there's like white everywhere.
Yeah.
That'd be Rid.
But also, whereas it's the ghosts. The ghosts,
Yeah, true. I mean, that would be cool. That would be cool. If they did a new spin on Thornfall, that would be really cool.
Pig bottom half, human top half.
Go the whole way. Make a man-bear pig army.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Kelvin said Vietnam trolls. I think I prematurely dropped all my cash on Gravediggers. I think Gravediggers they really nailed the aesthetic of what they are, though.
Yeah.
Like the whole trench theme and like the way they fight, like their airdrops. I think they really nailed that. But they aren't Vietnam trolls. That is true. They haven't got flamethrowers, which is weak.
And they don't have Madrak 4. So
with Ragnarok arms. True. Is Madrak store-wise? Is he dead? Is he around?
Well, what did Madrak 3? He was the chieftain. I think Madrak 3 didn't die, but he might have.
Chromac took his axe, though, didn't he? Because the Chromac ended up with Ragnarok.
Yeah, and he ended up with a rubbish spear.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. What a load of shit. Yeah. Okay. So maybe Madrak 5 will turn up. You never know.
Yeah.
Do you have any inklings on what so say it's not? We know that it's probably Orgoth and it's probably some sort of deathless thing, and we know it's some stupid elves and called House Nero with some fury. What do you reckon for the other two? You reckon that it could be a pig faction? We got two more.
What if we're having 2 more next year?
Yeah. So I mean, if they do one every, is it a 4 months for release or 3 months for release?
Yeah, pig faction all the way.
And then you got one more.
I am surprised they have still not released Banes for Cricks.
Banes for Cricks. Yeah, true.
Army. That would be like, I love the Bane Knight, love the Bane Warriors, Bane Thrall. Like, so potentially that. What else could it be?
There is the second Shadowflame faction as well, the Incarnate side, isn't there?
Who cares? No, I'm joking.
Fuck them guys.
Yeah, it could be. What could they have? They could.
Well, there's some lore about it. I just don't know it.
Well, they could have the what were the Legion of Everblight? Was it the Warmongers or?
Well, the Incarnate Knights are like the second side to the faction. Meh.
Yeah.
Meh.
Meh.
What about? So I think second Crick faction or Crick faction, which is like the Banes, would be really cool.
The Scarlet Witches. Know what they called? You know the
Satyrs, like the Black Fleet.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Kelvin says he thinks Maddie gave Ragnarok away and walked off to protect his people with Gunny, so could see him back. That makes sense because Gunborn's going to be in Kifgard. Would that tip you over the edge if they showed you a Madrak 5?
If they show you a Madrak 5, it'd be big.
It'd be big.
What you also don't see at the bottom of the back behind that Madrak 5 that's in the Kharchev like suit, plugged in the back is a krill stone.
Well, their faction icon is a krill stone, so there must be a krill stone in that army. Surely. Chris said, didn't Arcadius have something to do with the fluff with the Chimera? So, Chris, I'm going to be really honest with you. I have read negative amounts of fluff for War Machine Mark IV. I've read nothing. Yeah. Absolutely nothing. So I couldn't tell you if he did or not. But I know there is some sort of second element to Shadowflame Shard, which is still to be explored. That's all I know.
I mean, if their second half is pigs.
Yeah, that'd be a curveball. Dragon ninjas and pigs. But I think Arcadius did have something to do with the creation of the Incarnates.
Well, in which case, Arcadius is going to leading the War Machine side of the Shadowflame Shard. The
bacon side. Kelvin said, "Was I ever into the fluff?" Wow, he's really put me on the spot there. Calling me out? Probably no. The only fluff I've ever read is the Horus Heresy. That's the only game I've ever read the fluff of.
I think one thing that War Machine Mark II did really well, and I loved, was when they got a new book come out, and we all got a model or two, but there was a bit of story to go with it, and that's when obviously. Are you
telling me that you read that story in that book?
No, but it was fun to talk it through, and right.
We know what me and you would do. We would buy the book, go to the rules page. Oh, it's good or it's shit. Great, close the book. Done.
You've already pre-ordered your models by then. Yeah.
But I suppose people I'd say were more into the fluff when they had like, oh, here's this book that progresses the story, and you got a model with the things, right? So I'd say it was more people were into the fluff at that lore at that point. Currently, I think less people are into the lore because I would hate the idea of reading it on my phone.
Yeah, I think physical books are what we need. Physical cards are what we need. But again, I'm pretty sure they mention physical books.
I disagree. I don't know. Like, I don't want people to print more books. Put it on like a Kindle. I can read it on a Kindle, but I don't want to read it through the War Machine app, which I have to get like a tiny thing on my phone and then do that. Kelvin said, I don't remember you knowing any of the story about your stuff. Bro, Kelvin's fucking eating me out here. Holy shit. So you just
I mean,
looked. You just looked at the cards.
I don't think you mean what you just said, Aaron.
Yeah, true. Yeah, yeah. But Kelvin, right? I have read the story of the Horus Heresy. Thank you very much. I've probably not read any stories of War Machine.
Yeah.
Kane shot some stuff at one point.
You just got all discombobulated because Kelvin was eating you out, apparently. So
It's really calling me out, and it's not
calling
fair.
you out. That is the phrase.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. I'll edit that one out. So yeah, War Machine next year. I think it'd be 4 factions because I think it's one every 3 months. I believe.
Yeah,
that's the current schedule.
There'll be
another. 4th faction. I think it could be a second Shadow Flame Shard. That's what I'm gonna put my money on.
There's another one.
Another one.
Wasn't there? I might be wrong in this. Wasn't there a land of Zoo, or is that something?
Oh, don't even say it, man. Why would you break up? There's gonna be the dinosaur lovers coming out of the woodwork now.
Well, men off.
It's crazy. When they posted that thing from Nova, somehow there were like 5 comments on Reddit that mentioned the word zoo, and I was like, what are people obsessed with this dinosaur riding men off? I mean, it sounds like pretty cool, to be honest. Dinosaur
yeah, it'd be amazing, but
the Ember Frost is a second dragon army. Mazza Merch talks spit in facts. Ember Frost. Right. So they could be an army next year. If there was a new army, what could it be? Bacon. Bacon is good for me.
I hope Bacon. I fear Convergence of Cyrus are going to have another.
Well, interesting. So Chris said reset the clock. I didn't bring up the dinosaur shit, man. That was Dan. So with the Infernal Tomb, Grimkin, and Convergence and Critical Guard, are they just going to let you order the army as they are and reprint them, or are they going to develop new stuff for that army? Don't know. Okay. Well, that make that conversation very quick.
Sorry, I don't know. I don't see. We're not sort of in the know of how much. Like,
I know that. But we need a little bit of rat-a-tat-tat, right? If I ask you a question.
Sorry. Yeah. No, I think that I don't, because I think when you look at those factions, particularly Grimkin and Infernals, they were so different, and they played so different, and they had quite a lot of negative play experiences. I can't imagine have much development.
I think they'll just let you reprint them. Right, you'll be able to buy the prints from them.
Yeah, just buy the models. It'll be print on demand.
This year, you can buy Infernals.
Yeah,
I think that's what I do. Chris, sorry, Mazza said Liao. L-L-A-E-L.
Liao?
That is a name that was really popular like before, right? Do you know that name?
No.
Mazza, tell us what you mean by that, because I got no idea. Chris, my understanding, they were designed with further along digital technology, so easy to get 3D printable. The intention is leave them as they are. I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
You just this year you can order Convergence of Sirius, and you can just order them from them. Yeah,
you just can't. Lucan's just not allowed. That's cool.
I think I don't think he's as good as he once was, man.
Yeah, but PTSD's a thing, and facing that in Mark II.
Wait till they let you print Kruger too. That'd be great. Right, actually, side note, big tangent here. I played Kruger 2 on telekinesis is now range 6 and only on a friendly model. That is bullshit. Bullshit. And he hasn't even got Stormwall anymore. Not even worth looking at.
Yeah.
Chris said Kelvin said, Menov coming back from across the oceans, or is Menov something Steamforce Games will stay away from with its heavy religious ties? Yes.
Nah.
I mean,
I don't think the religious ties will make any difference whatsoever, because I think their if you're looking where their market is, it's America and mostly Western Europe, or even in Russia, like Christianity is not a worry. I can't imagine. I wonder how many non-Christian countries they sell their product to.
True, valid.
Yeah.
Kelvin said Liao, or I don't know how to say this word, Liao, is a
Yeah.
nation in Iron Kingdoms. Read your fluff. So he was calling out both.
Yeah.
Yeah, read your fluff, Dan.
That's cool.
Mazza is one of the countries between Signar and Kador, and they have a stat that currently in Mark. They had a Merc faction in Mark III, and the law suggests they have a standing army now.
Was that the woman that had the big banner?
Maybe. These guys, Lay L is how they say it.
Yeah.
What was that lady? What was that lady's name? A Merc. She was a Merc warcaster, right?
Pistol, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. She had a pretty decent feat, I remember.
Yes.
Wasn't it like the extra dice for you and minus dice for your opponent? Maybe.
I think so, but I can't remember.
We only remember rules. We hate the law. Ashlyn comes from there. Nice. Later, Mazda says yes. We are correct about the lady with the banner. Nice. Wow, this has been a real big tangent. It's been great, and Kelvin's eating me out. It's been a great night. Right, yeah, that's War Machine next year. We think it's gonna be good. Chris Clare, 2 dice. Yes, it was something to do with dice, that feat, because I remember it's pretty decent.
Yeah.
I don't remember anything about the model or the story. I remember had a pretty good feat. Good times. So next year we're gonna try and get to Welsh Masters, Warmanchester.
Yeah.
What was the other one? I've already forgot.
York Weekender.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll try and get to them 3. I'm probably going to be playing Old Umbre all year.
Yeah.
You might be playing
Madrak 4.
Madrak 4. What's your faction? Madrak 4, bitch. Didn't Madrak 4 already get a model? Or no?
No, Madrak 3. The one with the spears.
Oh, so that was him post Chromac taking his axe.
Yeah.
Or I think he gave his axe. Kelvin said he handed it over. There was no confrontation.
Yeah.
He didn't want it. And then Chromac beasted out. And then Chromac 2 wasn't that good, actually, unfortunately. He was hard to keep alive. And Road to War was so good on Chromac 1.
Yeah.
Man, I could talk about one for days. All right, so next year we're going to go to those events. That'll be good.
Yeah.
Well done to everyone at Warmanchester. Excellent results all around. At England, all top 3.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Thank you, Longshanks, for being a really easy site to use rather than back when you had to use that other spreadsheet.
You, dude. Kelvin will remember we had to work out our own strength of schedule.
Yeah.
So hopefully, Breast Cancer program. Hopefully we hear something about that.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Hopefully we'll hear about apparel. Hopefully we'll hear about cards. Hopefully we'll hear about...
Side note, yay for me. Sherwin went to get me some Old Umbre dice from Baron of Dice.
Nice.
That'd be good.
I won't ask what you're going to be doing to get those dice.
Yeah, similar to what Calvin done to me, I think. And we are playing on Wednesday. We're playing War Table.
Yes, we are.
Kelvin said, looking forward to the War Machine Law show that you run in a couple of months. Well, I would happily do it, but I could tell you that it would be limited accuracy.
We might need some help with that.
Kelvin, do you want to come and talk about the law? Do you want to come and educate us for an episode on the law?
Yeah.
Get your little South African accent on the episode. Fucking plumes. You can come on. You come on. Good old days having to do maths at events. Yeah, man. It was a nightmare. Absolute nightmare. Man. So, yes. Warmanchester next year. The events. I've got Old Umbre dice. You might play Madrak 4. I'll play Old Umbre. I think we'll wrap it up there because it's the wildest show that's ever happened so far on Dice Down Gaming. Thank God I said it's not for kids. That's good. I labelled it that. Me and Dan are playing on Wednesday. We're going to play a game of War Table. And then next week, I'm free to talk if you are, Dan.
Yeah.
And we are going to talk about maybe a bit about War Table because we'll play a game on it. And then we're probably going to talk a bit about the new player experience and how we bridge that precipice between being coached and teaching the game and playing your first solo game and then winning your first solo game. That'd be interesting. Okay, so thank you, Dan. for your time, mate. Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
had loads of people in chat, and we really appreciate your input because we would have struggled with the law without you. A big thank you from me. A big thank you from Dan. And until the next week, guys, we'll see you then. Bye.
Take care.